Okay, today is a Tuesday. Man, I was doing so many chores today and I got so sidetracked. I was like, oh man, I finally have like a day off, a Tuesday day off. So I'm gonna do a lot of stuff outside. And then I forgot to set an alarm for when I had to be done. So here I am. Here I am. You can see that I got like a little bit of sun. That's okay. But yeah, I was cleaning and doing lots of things that need to get done before the winter comes. And I completely cleaned, gutted, and reorganized my office, aka I had to move a lot of things and then tidy things up and blah blah blah. And it doesn't look that different for you. I realize it probably doesn't look any different for you guys. Yay! The hours of my day. It's okay, it was well worth it. And that's why I'm late today. It's not that I don't care or anything. I'm usually a lot more timely than that, but everything has to be gutted, cleaned, and reorganized before winter. Because I'm taking all of my plant pots in here, and I've been washing all of them. Literally washing all of them. And it's been a vibe. Ariar. Hello. Oh wait, yeah, I remember. Hello. How are you? Ariar. It's so cursed. Man, I'm just looking at all the stuff I have left to do. It's okay. Almost done. Almost done. Yeah. How are you doing? Anything exciting in your world? Or in your life? Oh, you know what I should do? Take off my nail polish while we're talking. Ugh. We just started, so I'm not going to hop into the news just yet. So, oh, hello, Chaotic. Oh, Arier says you're writing a book. Nice. Proud of you. You should keep going. It'll be worth it. What are you writing about? And also, hi, Chaotic. I'm going to be right back. Ugh. It's best to do this now before we get too deep into things. Bye. Okay, I'm back. Oh, it's a book about Israel and the ideologies in the West that stopped them from condemning it. Ooh, vibes. Vibes. Proud of you. Chaotic says, how are you today, Josie? Hope you're alright. Well, I'm doing pretty good. I got a little bit of sun, chat. I forgot to put sunscreen on before going outside. And this is all it takes, just like 45 minutes. Well, I was in the window all day, so that's also probably why. I regret it, but it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. You'll have to let us know when you get it all published and stuff. I'll read it. I'm dyslexic, so usually I buy like the online thing and then I just have it. I read it slowly or have a text to speech read it for me. But yeah, I'm proud of you. What have you been up to, Chaotic? You'll be really successful if you get it done, or at least it'll be a lot more successful than you think it is once you get it done. It's a hot topic. I'm mixing my nail polish. I don't put it on my fingertips. I always put it on my toes. Oh, I'm so tired. Hi, Oliver. Hi, Buffy. Hi, stinky butt. Almost done. Caddick says, I'm doing alright. Today was a calm day at university and I'm feeling really well right now. That's good. I'm glad you're feeling better. Ah. Hope you get a rest, you know. Hi, Oliver. No, you don't get to be this needy. You don't get to be that needy, sir. No, thank you. Sassy boy. Oh, you took a nap once you came home? That's good. In my free time, I have also been sitting. Holy moly. A lot more than I thought it'd be. So I get what you mean. It's like the season. Once it starts getting to fall, almost winter, it's like, I don't know, it just feels like you're supposed to rest. You're supposed to chill out. Man, I really am sunburned. Oh my goodness. Did not take a lot. Yeah. I hope this semester is better for you, or the term or quarter or whatever. Ugh. There's been a lot of stuff happening in the news cycle, but none of it's like very conclusive, chat. Like, I guess this is pretty relevant to you, Arier. But oh, Cadix says how's college going, Josie? Oh, it's been pretty good. Yeah, nothing too wild. I've been having a good time with my classes. My professor's really nice. I've been doing just lots of stuff. I get to do more in-person things now, which is cool. And yeah, my goal is to pass, I guess, get a degree. It's not like I'm not sitting here and I'm like, oh, it has to be like a certain way and I have to get XYZ or whatever. Because I feel like that's kind of unhealthy. I used to have like a straight A mindset. Like I was like, oh, I have to get all A's all the time. That's why I was on honor roll. But right now, I'm averaging. I'm doing pretty good. Like I have a pretty good GPA. I'm making sure to not take on more classes than I need. The only thing I'm struggling with is group project stuff because I have to meet with my study group. And they not everyone's showing up, so I might get docked points because for one of our larger projects they just didn't show up and I'm like, oh, huh, nice. Arier says basically how it goes, you say Zionists are bad, but most Jews are Zionists. Therefore, that implies most Jews are bad people. Because of this, you cannot make that statement in Western politics. So your country will not condemn Israel. As a result, they will keep sending billions of dollars to Israel, and Palestinians will continue to die. Yeah. It's a discussion where I actually get a lot of flack about it IRL. Like, I see how hard it is, and people will ostracize you for being pro-Palestine. And when I was younger, I was like, oh, it's just the church group I grew up in. Those are the only people that are going to be like that. But as I've gotten older, I've realized, oh my God, people are just fucked up, you know? They only look at it surface level. And they don't want to feel the shame of promoting a genocide for so long, so they just bury their heads in the sand. Caddick says, that's good, things are going well for you. I personally have the mindset that if I get at least a B, I'm happy with the results most of the time. Yeah. I don't know. I'm very, like, I like having good grades, having all A's. The only times I don't get A's is usually related to other people or me getting sick. So, like, if I get, like, the flu or something and I miss an exam or whatever, most of the time you can make it up, which is nice. Or I had to drop out, you know, because I had to take care of my family, but, yeah. But other than that, I tend to do okay. That's not me, like, bragging or anything. It's just I'm very, like, I have to be on it all the time. Yeah. I've been looking more into that area, like, trying to find different ways to discuss this sort of, situation with people, too. To bounce back to that topic, for a little bit. It's been really hard, though. Like, I've been really, really, really struggling with it, because people just start calling me, like, a hater of, like, Jewish people, and I'm just like, no, I don't really care about that. I just care about what a country is doing. And I try to tell people, like, hey, a country is not a religious institution, and you can't really be anti a religion if you don't like what a government's doing, even if it has, like, a religious perspective or whatever. Let's see. Oh yeah, in my opinion, Arier says it's a dirty trick. Imagine Nazis back in the day called you anti-German for saying Nazis are bad because most Germans are Nazis. Yeah. Chaotic says, I personally never met someone that I knew was Jewish, so I can't say about dealing with Zionistic Jews. But I know some evangelical churches here who support Israel, and I can't understand why. Yeah. Oh, man. The church I grew up in very much supported Israel, and it was really disappointing. It was. Like, meeting people who actually went to Israel / like the West Bank area because they wanted to look at a lot of historic buildings and monuments and stuff. They physically went there in person and they said that it was just a shame. But they reduced the Palestinians to animals or like cattle, and it was really fucked up. I've talked about that a lot though, so that's just me going like, man. Doris, have you seen this about Zohan? Shocking. Piers Morgan? Bruh. Oh, he's an Arsenal fan. Oh my god. Hi, Darius. I hope, I hope he does good. He's a fucking gooner. You know, I hope that, like, people in America go off that. They just start calling him a gooner. I want it to be something on TikTok so bad, so people get confused. I really like Sohan, though. I hope he does well. He's really, really running the idealistic kind of card, you know? A lot of people who run for office, they either run the very, like, idealistic perspective of, like, oh, if we do this, our government will be like this, or if we do this, it'll be like this. It's basically, like, fantasizing about the future. Or you have someone like Cuomo who's very, like, stuck in the past. He's like, well, I've done this, I've done that, so therefore I'll be better. But it's easier to discredit someone who has more history. It can be. But in this situation, it is then discredit Zohan because, yeah. Chaotic says, Piers Morgan is a total joke, if I'm honest. I haven't seen much of him, but the little I saw and heard about him isn't great. Yeah, he's cursed as fuck. Chaotic says, if I'm not mistaken, he supports the monarchy, so I can't like him. Yeah, a lot of people who are older support the monarchy out of tradition, at least from my perspective. Daria says, I don't mind Piers that much anymore, TBH. He did some absolutely scummy shit at the news of the world. Now he gives a platform to lots of different political views. Yeah, that can be like a. He kind of reminds me of Joe Rogan a little bit too. Yeah, and most people do support the monarchy, Darius. You are right. Especially the older generation, which is interesting to me, but I've been thinking a lot about it, honestly. There is a good video we could watch about different like talking points about that people raise with Israel v. Palestine, or people that you can talk to with people who justify, who are like basically Zionists who are pro genocide and shit. It's just, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of that out there though. Barry says, I don't mind chaotic. I like our monarchy, but I understand it's a bit weird if you're not from here. I'm surprised you like the monarchy. Wait, what about it is something that you enjoy? I'm actually really surprised by that. I like the soft power it brings. I like the money it brings into the country. Oh, so you're like tourism and stuff? Caddick says, I used to watch some videos of Alex O'Connor. Oh man. Uh, who's an English YouTuber who talks about philosophy, and he already went a few times to Piers Morgan to show to speak against the monarchy. That's a vibe. And Daria says, yeah, I like the idea of a figurehead people from different backgrounds and classes can have in common. Oh, so you like the idea of having that like authority figure. Do you think that people are trying to envision Trump that way here in America? Because I think Trump is trying, that's why we had the No Kings protest, or at least part of it or whatever, trying to be like, yeah, you're not our king. Because America's foundation is very like anti having a royalty or a king in that manner. But not authority figure, more like continuity, huh? Please explain. I'm curious. I'd say I'm okay with it if there's checks and balances. Ariere says, isn't it Alex O'Connor, the vegan atheist guy? Well, I wouldn't be surprised. Wait. Oh, Chaotic's asking the Texas discussion. Let me look up Alex O'Connor while you guys are doing that. He used to be vegan, he's not anymore. Oh, I wonder what changed. Darius says, in some ways it's like the church. You're born, you marry your parents, die, you have kids, etc., and the church is always there and consistent. The queen served a similar role for us. Yeah. I guess that's because oh, it's this dude. Yeah. I don't know a lot about him. I don't know. No comment. I'd have to do more research to be able to comment on anything that he's really done, honestly. Yeah. I think the continuity can be like having royalty and stuff like that can be good for morale in some aspects, especially if you are facing threats and you need something to like stand for. Because it's like, oh, you've had a king or queen or like a monarchy for so long that you're basically protecting something bigger than yourself. But most of the time in modern times, people are more willing to protect their family, and that's used as motivation for like military-esque recruitment and that sort of thing. At least in my honest opinion. IMHO. The Queen during COVID following the rules, etc. is a good example of this. I think that's relying on, hi Tammy, but I think that really relies on if the monarchy is actually going to follow the rules. The Queen was more like protecting public image, and she was the last of the generation of colonialism, really. She's gotten to watch the entire empire just like diminish, and she's been she tried to protect and maintain it as much as she could, but after a while it just kind of collapsed. From my perspective, I don't think that there's a lot that you can salvage from that. You think Charles so far has been decent? Yeah, but he carries so much baggage, like the whole like cheating on his wife, not marrying the right person. It just makes him seem weak, even though it was super long ago. Which makes me feel kind of bad, but yeah. Yes, I liked him coming to Manny to talk to the Jewish community after the attack last month. Yeah. I guess you can like him for that. I don't know. In my opinion, I think having a monarchy as like a historic symbol would make sense. But having them have a lot of influence doesn't make sense to me, Yeah. I guess we could keep going on for a while with that. But I don't know. I feel like I should have more hot takes, like, fuck the monarchy or whatever, but I don't know. It's not my governance. So it's hard for me to be as invested in it. I wonder what that says about me. I don't like what they've done in their history, but yeah. Chaotic says, honestly, I don't feel bothered about Charles' affair and the new marriage. Oh, it's a personal thing, but I would think cheating is not always the worst thing in the world. It's bad, but not unforgivable to me. Yeah, whoa! Here's my opinion. I think cheating is okay if you're trapped in that relationship. And you are trying to get out of it. That's like the thing. But if you're just doing it and you intend to stay with the person, that's like, I view that to be fucked up. Because there are times where people don't even understand that they want to get out of a relationship until they find another person. I don't know about that one personally because I've never been through that, but you can look at people like Ariana Grande, where she's kind of been like the other woman in a lot of shit. But that's getting into pop culture stuff, and I feel bad talking about that. Daria says, I mean, Americans and Brazilians are going to have a very different view on it. That's true. That's true. America did say fuck you and leave, so, But yeah, I don't know. I guess we could talk a bit about all that stuff, but yeah. I just think he's bad for optics, personally. Daria says the royal family were well known for this in the 50s and 60s. They didn't let them marry the people they wanted, and it led to a lot of very stupid stuff and unhappy marriages. That's true, yeah. Hammy says, yeah, it's a personal thing, but when you become a public figure, an important public figure, people are not going to leave you alone, even with your personal life. That's also true. That's also very true. I don't know. It's like, so there's a fine line between being secretive and being private, Like, I think the public doesn't need to know everything that's going on with any public figure, But you have to understand that, like, sometimes, like, as a public figure, I guess there's a fine line. Yeah. Darius says, in some ways, I like Charles got divorced because it made it more respectable to some people. I like that too. I do too. I think that it really changed how the monarchy was perceived. Because it was like, oh, they're not trying to maintain the old stuff, they're trying to like move forward. Daria says most public figures have some kind of consent to be in the public eye. This lot are born into it. That's true. But there's a lot of them who just kind of refrained from being in the public eye, though, as much. Like the Queen's sister, she was not as involved in the public eye as much as the Queen was. I mean, that's for like good reason, but she actively, like, for a long time avoided the public eye, and it did work. She was pretty isolated for a while. And they would have to hunt her down and find her. Like, people were still interested in what she was doing, but she made herself boring. Like, she was the OG, like, stay the fuck away from me PR person. At least her private life. Dara says not really. They're expected to work. Yeah, she did work. Princess Margaret did shit tons of stuff, Posey. She hosted dinners with presidents and stuff. Yeah, she did. But she kept her personal life a lot more private. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, there's a fine line between, like, privacy and secrecy. So she was a very private person. And she didn't have, like, she might have had a lot of secrets that we don't know about. But I personally think that she did have plenty of secrets. And I view her to be more like that. I have no idea how to say your name, bro. But is it Riser? Or Rouser? But thank you for the follow. Hello. I mean, I could be wrong there. You call me Ray? Okay, chill. Hello, Ray. But you should really, like, or whatever. Okay. Darius, we're talking, by the way, to fill you in, we're talking about the monarchy. Darius says, yeah, she's rumored to have a lot of affairs, etc., because she wasn't allowed to marry the man she loved. Yeah. Yeah, but it's rumored. That's the thing. She had her secrets. She had her little secrets. And she was very private. I don't know. I think there's a couple of different ways you can approach it, like being a public figure. You can be a completely different person IRL than you are online, which I think, or not even online, just like public facing. But from my experience, I think that's something that just naturally evolves. Because once you do something enough and you have to show up in order to fulfill whatever obligation you have, you start creating a character for yourself because you're not going to be 100% all the time. I don't know. Tahami says, what kind of dinners, man? I don't know if it's because my bad English or she did something wrong. Oh. She hosted presidents like Lyndon Johnson, Tahami, as part of her work for the Crown. So she did a lot of socializing with people of other countries to help make the business or the government relationships better. Ray says, well, this is what I hate, forcing someone to appear before even asking them if they want to or not. Yeah, I think that's something where I agree with you. I think at a certain extent, though, you're kind of like obligated to do it unless you want to lose everything, you know? So when you start distancing yourself from things, it can, like, you do lose the opportunity to make a lot of money or to make a lot of XYZ. You kind of, like, how do I say this? The ability to regulate your own schedule or dictate your own schedule is something that comes with privilege. So the higher your status and the more secure you are in that status point, whether that be class or business or whatever, the less you have to actually be consistent. You can just show up when you need to. And that's it. And when you need to is when you decide you need to. Daria says, yeah, until Charles was 18, she was one of the most public faces of the crown. Yeah, I guess she did. Darius also said, we did have a king that fucked off to France and gave it to his brother and left him to lead the nation during a war. Yeah. Wasn't that before Queen Elizabeth took over? Or was that before Queen Victoria? I don't remember. He married an American. Damn, okay. Ray says they should be treated as a person with his own choice, no matter what, even if he doesn't agree with you. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Oh, Dari says yes, it was her dad. That's what I thought. Okay, okay. Yeah, wasn't he a Nazi though? Like, very much like Nazi apologist and everything, and then they like left. And Dari says no, they work for the UK and they get rewarded for it. They do. They get a lot of free. It's like an influencer almost. But instead of for like online stuff, you're born into it and it's political ish. It's kind of a weird position to be in, honestly. Like being when I was a kid, I was like, I'm gonna be a princess. You know, like when you're really young and you like fantasize about like the stuff you see on TV or whatever. Now I'm just like, oh my god, no. But when you're young, you're just like, aw. And as I got older, I got to see what happened with all of the princes who were getting married in. And I was like, holy shit, nightmare, nightmare. Daria says, kind of, and this is response to the Nazi stuff. Daria says, kinda, his cousin was the leader of Germany in World War One, and he expressed sympathies towards Germany in a series of letters found in the 70s, I believe. Yeah, I just recall a lot of Nazi shit about him, and I thought like the family kind of was like, ooh, like he's not part of anything anymore because of it. But I don't know how involved it was. I just know it wasn't good. Like he was very sympathetic for a long time. And he like fell out of or at least I think he fell out of a lot of public favor because of that. I don't know. I never thought that we would discuss a lot of this stuff, but I'm okay with it. But here's the thing. Are is royalty like held accountable for anything that they do? That's what I've been wondering. Let's see. Ray says, I can't imagine being from a royal family because I don't like this kind of excessive commitment. And they deal with people in such formal manner that you wouldn't think you could be an ordinary person. Yeah, true. I feel like you start fantasizing normal life so much that you don't even understand what a normal life is. So even if you were given the opportunity to have that normal life, it still wouldn't be normal enough to you because it's just like it's a different thing. It's like when someone becomes super rich or first experiences like the ultra wealthy people. If you start intermingling in that, it's not gonna feel like extravagant. It's not gonna feel like as intense, like maybe for a year or two, but then it fades away because you're just like, oh, this is just, it's not even that fancy. And you want it to be more than what it is. Let's see. Darius says, I don't think he was a Nazi sympathizer. It was more of a Germanic sympathizer, if that makes sense. Yeah. Hemi says, I agree with that. I don't want to be a president even if I have the opportunity to be. Huh. I don't know. I guess we have a different perspective on that. I don't like, for me personally, I think that no matter where you're at, it's never going to be what you imagined it to be. And it's going to be like mildly disappointing. And you'll just adapt to it. No matter the environment you're in, your body is designed, or I guess not always, but for the most part, you adapt to it. Darius says he called Hitler a clown. Okay. Okay, so he's not absolute shit. That's nice. I think a lot of the media I heard about him is he was like, I guess in the West you see it a little bit differently. Chaotic says, it's weird. Many of us are conditioned to want to be famous when we're kids, but as we grow old, we notice that being famous actually sucks. Yeah, I guess that's fair. Ray says, well, I like people to treat me as I am. It doesn't matter if I'm rich or my family is famous. I'm a human being. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I I've talked about this a lot online, but I grew up in like a very like religious like public image within the culty religion I grew up in. And I wasn't the person in the public eye. I was by proxy in the public eye. So, like, it's different. And then I feel like I equate fame to being like the same thing, just a different demographic. Like, there's people out there who don't even know who the Kardashians are. It just all depends on that little bubble that you're in. So, I don't know. I just kind of find it to be very like when people assume a lot of things about you, you don't really like correcting them just doesn't do anything. Like they're just going to assume, and you can cite your narrative once, and the more you try to defend yourself, the worse it gets. And you can't be repetitive with it. Yeah, Daria says you want your work to be famous, not your personal life, in it. I guess that would make sense. Yeah. Yeah. Chaotic says it depends. There are people who have their biography written with their consent, etc. So I assume many are okay with some aspects of their life being public. That's true. And then here's my question. If you have like a biography or an autobiography, it's never going to be 100% your lived experience. That makes it really weird to me, you know? Like, it's always going to be semi-romanticized. Whether they make you out to be like a villain or a hero in your story is going to be up to the reader, usually, or up to the person creating the work. Let's see. Dari says, OMG, there's people out there who don't know who the Kardashians are. Yes. Yes. A lot of the people I grew up with in the church, like, they only consumed, like, church media, especially the older generation. And that was their celebrities. Darius says, that's a very human thing, I feel chaotic. More about mortality than fame. Yeah. Sammy says, they have to be living on an island we didn't discover yet. You guys don't know. Like, literally, you can be online and never know any of these, like, newer popular people. You might see them, but how do I say it? Their cultural impact or significance isn't going to matter to you because you're not in that world. So you'll see their stuff, but unless someone puts a name to the face and explains to you why it is a certain way, then it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Dara says, I reckon you can go to Mount Everest and you still can't find a Yeti that knows about Kim Kardashian. I'm serious! Ray says, if you are famous and rich, but I think you are better than others. Let's see. In the end, you will become a mean and lonely person, and it's not even an achievement. That's not really true though, because this goes back to the conversation of privacy versus secrecy. Like when you are in a public-facing position, you are gonna crack. Like you're gonna snap at some point, and you are going to not really forget, but the training that you are taught, it just won't matter. It can be like 2 years in, 5 years in, 6 years in, whatever. If you're doing something public facing enough, you will crack, like everyone does. But the thing is the impact of it will be dictated by how much of your life you keep secret and how much of it is like private, you know? If you keep a lot of your life secret, as in like what you do outside of your public facing things, you can give your audience or the public just a little grain of stuff, and they will make a huge fucking deal out of it and use that little thing to fill in like this chasm of information that you've left out. But if they don't know, they'll never know. So, you know, I don't know. People fill in the blanks on their own with what you give them. So you can have lots of secrets and be okay. Let's see. So Amy says, yeah, and even my 92-year-old grandmother knows about them. A different world, bro. Daria says, this sounds like a fable we tell ourselves to try to rationalize not being famous and rich when it's something people want on some level. I guess. It's not the recognition people think it is, though. Like, getting attention doesn't mean you're getting recognition. And a lot of people equate fame to that recognition, but it's not. People seeing you doesn't mean they recognize you. And people don't get that. Anyways, Daria says, when I was in, it's not Saudi Arabia. What is it? South America? Question mark. The amount of people that talked about Mr. Bean was absolutely shocked me. I think after the Queen and maybe Beckham, he's the most famous Brit. That makes sense. Ray says, well, being famous and rich will give you advantages, yes, but you won't be better than others. In the end, who are you as a person? Who are you as a person and not as a celebrity? But that's the thing. I think a lot of that is going to be dictated by the, Posey, South America, the home of the original 9/11. Yeah. But yeah, back to what you were saying, Ray. I think what happens with a lot of people who are in the public eye, and this happened to me when I was growing up in the church, so this is my personal experience. I would literally, like, I'm not going to dive super deep into my experience because it kind of sucks, but it was hard for me to have my own identity and see myself as my own individual person because my personality was different than how people saw me. And it's kind of like, no matter how I behaved, they always expected me to be a certain way. So it didn't matter how authentically I showed up. It didn't matter, like, how much I spoke with them about my interests, my hobbies, my colors that I like literally anything that I enjoyed as a person. It didn't matter to them because they always saw me as how I was when I was in the more public facing position at the church. And when my grandfather retired and I stopped traveling with him, I stopped doing like the public facing things, like all of that crazy stuff, I would meet people years later and they still would not accept me for who I was. It was always the stuff that I did that was in person with people or like on like the fucking TV channel or whatever that we had, or like all of that stuff. They did not recognize me for who I was. And I think what causes the most problems, or at least for me personally, was trying to get people to see me for that. Because people aren't going to see you for what they want for you. They're going to see you for what they want you to be. And if you don't fit that image, they're either going to demonize you, view you as a has-been, or just not even recognize it and just treat you how they want you to be, or how they used to imagine you. Anyways, let's see. Darius says, we need to stream on Island Day one day. True. And you'll go absolutely spare when you hear the story. Josie, though, thought a street on Santiago was named on the September for the 9/11, not the Chilean one, Tommy. Bruh, I know. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like people, it's hard because obviously I haven't been at the level of like super huge fame or whatever, but you don't have to get to that level to understand, you know? Ray says, I will treat the person as a person, not as a celebrity. Yeah. But most people, they don't know how to do that. They don't get it. And so they idolize them. They want to take pictures with them and do all this stuff. It's like, they're not a person. They're like cattle. And it just sucks. And you never know what you can say to people and what's going to go out there and like how it's going to hurt. Like for me, it was my family's image and it just sucked. It sucked. Let's see. If someone wants me to treat them as a celebrity and expects me to speak to them in a more distinguished manner, I'm sorry, I don't want to befriend you. Yeah. For me, it was all about respect. Like, I don't know. I struggle with people, who want to talk to me about like gossip about celebrities and stuff like that. And when I was in like high school, I was obsessed with watching like interviews of people who were like, public facing and how they were being open and transparent about how hard it was and what they had to do to cope with it. Because I felt like that in the situation I was in with the church and stuff. And obviously, like, different levels and that sort of thing, but I don't know. It made me realize, like, oh my God, like, other people have to go through that too. And I was like 13 when I first recognized this. I was like, holy shit. Um, there is no unique experience. Like, no matter how much attention I were to ever get, it would just be the same thing. So I need to learn how to cope with this. And yeah, let's see. Josie is absolutely terrified of one of her takes ending up on big streamers reaction video. That's not true. I just like to play the game to make sure that I don't end up in there, you know? Because, like, it's not my fear to, like, end up in, like, a reaction video. I don't want that to be, like, so here's the thing. I don't care about attention. I don't care about getting attention. If I got more attention, I would change how I approach stream. I would change how I approach social media in some aspects, and I would view it to be slightly differently. Would I completely switch up? No. Would I format things differently? Hell yeah, I would. But the thing is that I don't care about attention because attention does not equate people understanding me or whatever. It's just I'm performing a different role in what I do. And if I'm being honest, anything that any person could say about me online would never be worse than the slander and shit that I had to go through the church because I changed up my image and I changed up my how I handled everything, how I dressed everything, and I went against the grain. And it demonized me to the point, because my grandfather was high up in the church. He was like part of almost all of the print media that happened in the North American division. So, like, we made stuff for Mexico. That's when I started getting exposed to Spanish. Mexico, America, and Canada. And even part of, like, you know, some parts of Europe and stuff like that too, but not as much so. So, like, I was just, I don't know, I don't care. I don't care, because, like, when you go from that image and you fall all the way down, there is no, like, getting back to a certain position of people, like, viewing me. It doesn't matter, because I already know that it's not something that, I don't know, it's just not as important to me. Let's see. Would you still talk about your love for neological artists? Yes, I would. I would. Butthole vibes. Daria says, I kind of agree with that. Just turn off the computer, put your phone down. People aren't going to climb out of the telly like the girl in the ring. But IRL stuff is more serious. Yeah, like, when you have people, like, I had people from the church that I grew up going to, they were so mad at me for leaving the church, how I left the church, standing up against the church's policies and stuff, that they would come into my workplace and harass me to the point where I couldn't work in person for literally, like, years. To the extent where I was working one of my favorite jobs as a lifeguard. One of the girls was part of the church. She left. She recognized who I was from the church. She was like, oh, I know your family name. Are you Josie? And I was like, fuck. And then it ruined my entire, like, everything there, because all of my coworkers switched up on me. Literally everything was like I'm still being haunted by that shit. Like, even if I do stuff in person, the volunteer work I do now, I still meet people who are from the church who still talk to me about the work that I did with my family there, and then how disappointed they are in me for, like, leaving, and then they leave bad reviews and try to get me fired, even if they're not, like, realistic. So it's like, it's something that has happened to me so many times, and I could be in my fucking 50s and that shit would still happen. It is not something I can really escape. Anyways, Ray says, when I see people considering taking pictures with celebrities, that's something special. I feel weird about why someone would want to take a picture with a celebrity. I don't care about that. Yeah, I don't know. I try not to be, like, too like talk down on people who do that, because people get really protective over it because it's their role model. It's like the people that idolize and stuff. But like, I don't know. I think it's weird to me because like, I don't know, once you go through the process of people like taking pictures of you and like trying to like put you in like a position of like, oh my god, I saw this person here doing this or this or whatever. All right, bye, chaotic. Or like whatever, and they like gossip about you, or like I haven't dealt with it to that extreme, but when you are like your job is to be like public facing and stuff, or you have to, like I was born into it with my family, so I didn't really have a choice unless I wanted to like run away, which wouldn't really work super well for me. So I was stuck in it, and I never took selfies. Like, I still don't take selfies. I have no selfies on my phone. I literally don't. Like, I'm not even joking with you. It's so bad. And I think that like for me, I don't even like taking pictures of myself because I do so much stuff online that I'm like, why does it matter? I can just go to like my feed and I can see myself here. And I can just like see my content, and then I don't need to take like hot photos or whatever. Um I don't know. So like I don't like taking photos of myself. So why would I want other people taking photos with me? Like I would if they wanted it, because I'd be like, "Oh, this is important to you." But when you do it all the time and you're just looking at yourself all the time, it's like it's hard to find importance in it. I guess it's different. I don't know. Uh Daria says at school there was a guy called Jimmy 2 Pints because he was sick after 2 points, and he's still called that to this day. Yeah, people fucking hold on to that shit and they never let it go. Like they literally just do not let it go. Ray says, I love a quiet life. I come back from work, I sit with my family, I play with my friends on the computer, and then we go out, and you love that. Yeah. Yeah. I think that is really nice. I think that, like, yeah. I don't think that'll ever be my life. Even if I still have to be very cautious about how I do things in public. Like the most freeing my life is when I'm not in places where I know that I'm going to run into people who are from my past who are like really annoying, who just like gossip all the time or whatever. Like even leaving the state, I have traveled across the entire United States and I've still ran into people that I know, or people like it's a small fucking world, literally. But it's like you can't escape it. Like once you get there to that level, you can't escape it. And that's just like me coming from like the very insulated religious institution or whatever. Like I got tattoos, I was dyeing my hair all the time. I literally was like, I'm gonna get plastic surgery, make myself look different, maybe that'll help or whatever. But it's I don't know. It's nothing compared to like what other celebrities deal with. But like when you have like any influence at all, or any like name thing that they could recognize you for, it just goes like, oh, poof. Anyways, Daria says, I ended up once on a night out with the cast of Made in Chelsea. It was fucking amazing. I took so many photos and demanded fans took photos with me. That's funny. Tahani says, my Instagram account feels like a dead city. I have no posts, no highlights, no stories because I don't know what to do with my face when I'm taking a picture. That's a vibe. I always look really sad because I'm just like, and I also have a resting. I don't have like a resting sad. I have a resting bitch face now that I've gotten older. But it still like just makes me sad, you know? I think I'm better now in photos and stuff because I no longer like hate my life or whatever. But I don't know. You have to like learn how to pose and stuff, which I would have to relearn. Or not relearn, but I don't know. It would be like you have to like train yourself to do it. Let's see. Ray says, I would say my life is normal, a normal life without any disturbance or thinking about what celebrities talk about. Yeah. You can't escape it forever. You escape it. It's just there. It always is there. You just don't always recognize the people. Now I've gotten to the age where all like the new TikTok celebrities or like the younger people, I have no idea what's happening. And there's so much drama, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? I have no idea who the fuck you are. Oh, let's see. Daria says, don't worry about it, Tahami. It's for other people, not for you. Yeah. I had a similar issue, but I knew someone in South America that ran a modeling agency, and I got him to give me tips on what to do in your photograph to look better. Yeah. Yeah. I think it really depends. I think a lot of it has to do with, like, basically just squint your eyes a bit, believe it or not. That's funny. I guess for dudes it makes sense. I don't know. I think, it really depends. Like, for me, it depends on if I'm wearing makeup or not. Because if I'm not wearing makeup, I have a really round face. So if I'm not wearing makeup, aka I don't have, like, any contour, contour. Anyways, if I don't have that on, I don't smile as much because then it's just like cheeky. Tahami says, yeah, man, this is not for me. I'm not built like that. Vibes. Dara says, as long as it doesn't stop you from doing anything, it shouldn't be an issue for you. Yeah, I don't know. I bet I could probably take more selfies and stuff and get better at that. I guess streaming and TikTok has made me probably know my angles better and like what I need to do. I don't know. It's just a meme. Tammy says, so what's the secret? Squint your eyes. Look like you're looking far away. Ray says, I only put one highlight in my Instagram, and they're usually about what I do, like buying coffee. I love trying many cafes. Yeah. Half a smile, tilt your head, squint a little, put your chin up and to the side. I guess that makes sense. I think it really depends. Like, posing is really, it can be not like hard, but it can be difficult to understand if you don't understand your facial features. Because a lot of the things that people struggle with are their perceived insecurities. So because they're insecure about something, it's all that they notice. And because it's all that they notice, the rest of their face looks like not as great because they're overcompensating for something that isn't that important. And they're making it a bigger deal than it really is. I don't know. IMO. It just makes you like 10-15% more photogenic. You'll still be you if you take sexy photos. Yeah. Tammy says, I don't like to share my photos or anything that I do with people. That's why I'm making short movies that are just for me. Oh, vibes, Tammy. I'm glad you're expressing yourself with your art. Darius says, have you made one? We are filming at the moment. Yeah. Darius is making one too. Hey. I don't know, you got me like thinking about it. I don't know. I just don't care. Like with all this shit, I'm just like, okay. I feel like for me, I would just fucking hire people on to help me manage shit, and I'd be like, okay. And if they told me to do something that was like really like whatever, I'd be like, no. Because just as easy as you can get it, you can just lose it all, you know? Oh no. Daria says, I'm making ones, but the fucking actors are absolute pain in my ass. Yeah. You and every other director out there. I know you need skincare, exercise, water, and bedtime for that. Yeah, that's true. You really do have to, like, work out consistently and stuff. It's so annoying. Honestly, I hate to say it, but running is really good cardio. It's not like a full body workout. You're not doing a lot with your arms, but it's really good for you. So I highly recommend that if you have the time or the motivation. Sprints are good. Pilates, believe it or not, is really good for evening out your muscle tone. So for me, since I fucked up my my pec, I tore my pec on the inside here. Very lucky that it wasn't there. But because I tore it, I was overcompensating with my left arm, with everything. And my technique was really bad. So Pilates has been really good, especially for building up like evenness. So now my delts, my biceps, and my lats right here are all even, so I can actually start like lifting more again, which is so nice. Daria says, and all your enemies are working on being sexy right now, so don't let them out sexy you. Sexy girl. It's true though, it's true. If your enemies can be sexy, why can't you? It's the best karma too. Like, sometimes all you have to do is just get fucking hot. And then people would be like, oh, fuck you, fuck you. And you're just like, no, I'm gonna get hot. Thanks. We were supposed to talk about Trump and consequences, y'all. Okay, we're gonna hop into that in a little bit, okay? But Ray says, when some people around me talk about what this celebrity did or what happened to them, I feel like I really don't care. I think I'm old enough to take care of my own affairs. True. It's not, it's like, I used to learn about, how do I say it? I don't care. I just, I want to talk to the person, honestly. It's if they talk to me about that stuff all the time and it goes like past like small talk, like they're really into it, I go like, chill, chill. I don't want to talk about that all the time, but sometimes it's okay. Like, I understand having like a little crush and being like, oh, they're hot or whatever. Like, I get that. Me too. Like, I think plenty of people online are hot, but it's the mysteriousness of them. Like, you don't actually get to meet them. That's why they're super hot, you know? It's like seeing a hot person in an airport. It's like everyone's hotter in an airport because you don't know who they are yet. Well, let's see. Darius is fucking true. Get sexy enemies to harm you. Push yourself to new levels of hotness. Yes, do it. It's the best thing to do. I mean, don't be like a hater online or whatever, but like, you can be a little competitive. It's fine. Not in a toxic way. Yeah. No, man, thanks God. Oh, my enemies are so chopped. Some people say the Brits are all chopped because they're the royal family's inbred, but I have a feeling that not every British person is inbred, you know? I was expecting my bubble water, but this is not bubble water. It is lemonade. I'm curious to see what you have to say to that, Darius. The Hammy says, yeah, I need to do that. I think that's why I'm not doing anything. I think it's because I'm more hotter than them. Sorry, that's great rouge bait, Josie. I can't believe the level of subtlety you're offering on. Ah, damn. Sometimes I just want to piss you off a little bit, just as much as you piss me off. Just a little bit. Hi, Ollie. Are you being a needy butt? I think you butt. Yeah, damn. It was so good though. It almost worked. The Kingdom of the Blind, the hot person is still hot to haunt. That's true. The standards change. They just have sexy voice, you know? Sexy voice. And I've learned because I was around a lot of really like blind people growing up that having good tits and a good ass does in fact matter. But the definition of tits or ass that is good is a lot more dependent on the person. Also abs and like whatever ratio you got. You can have tits as like a man too, you know. They're called pecs. Anyways, hi Ollie. Do you want to say hi? He says hi. Let's see. Oh. Oh, yay, you're helping. I'm happy. Oh. Yeah. I still believe in you guys, though. You should still do the pursuing of the stuff, you know? Yeah, Ozzy. Follow your dreams. May all your dreams come true. Oh, you always help, Darius. But, yeah. Nope. I was gonna say something really mean and I decided not to. Okay. Tammy says, I think I'd be the hottest person there. I'm glad you have confidence. Say it, I'm hot enough to take it for. So, what do you think about Trump? Do you think he's gonna face any consequences for his actions, chat? We've talked about this before, but do you think people are gonna punish him for the bad things that he's done? Do you think he'll like being punished? Okay. Yes, but not the ones you think. Ah, vibes. Epstein and guitar bases will be the end of him. Are you sure? Do you think that's what it is? Like Epstein and guitar? I'm actually a little surprised by that one. IMO. I thought it'd be more like, I don't know. A lot of people think he's just gonna die, you know? Ooh, good job to Hammy. Low-key, I'm kind of in the camp that I think he'll probably just die before anything happens. Yes, so it's a bit like a certain streamer. It's not what you think would get him. It's about him pissing off his base. Who? You're like, you don't have to do like a streamer. Arier says killed himself. Oh, that's a hot one. Darius says that's legitimate style of writing Tahami. It's called gardening. Oh, nice. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Ray says Epstein, this is the biggest scandal I've ever seen. I really hope to know who's involved. Well, more stuff was released. I think the flight logs were released this past weekend, or at least more of them. Maybe it was the weekend before. I don't fucking know. One of the two. Yeah, I actually don't think Epstein was murdered. Oh, Darius, interesting. I think that Prince Andrew for sure. I don't know. Here's my thing. When it comes to Epstein, I wouldn't be surprised if he killed himself, but the fact that they keep changing their story all the time makes it seem like he didn't. Because if they were just like coming out there and being like, oh, this is what happened, this is the, the events that led up to it or whatever. Yeah, Darius says, I went and read the autopsy. It was clear and fairly clear what happened, but I understand there's a clear motive to get him. Yeah, that's the thing. Because you can coerce someone to off themselves, and if you strangle them, it'll mimic a lot of the same. I know this because I took a forensics class, by the way, for reasons. I was like, extra credit. I'm not even joking with you, okay? That's why. The blood splatter analysis was like the most interesting thing to me, mainly because it's like physics, so I got it, and the rest of it was like weird. Because, I don't know. Anyways, I personally think that you could have easily replicated that, you know? Barry says, and if you have motive, you get theories that won't go away, like moon landing stuff. That's true. Ray says, well, many are involved, and there's no doubt about it. Not just American politicians or celebrities. That is true. That is true. If you wanted to get him, just inject him with insulin between the toes and say it was a heart attack. Yikes! Damn, Darius. Darius knows the way. Yeah. doesn't it mimic the signs of a heart attack too? Like almost fully, because it's basically like gonna give you a heart attack. It's just more caused, you know? I don't know. Yeah, there are lots of very powerful people who are part of it, but I also think that they already know that nothing bad's going to happen to them because during the Epstein trials, literally they put into protection a lot of the people that were there. So maybe they'll get some public shaming, but I don't think they're going to face any legal consequences. Unless they come out right and be like, oh, I did this thing and I feel so guilty and you should arrest me or whatever, but that rarely happens, especially after this long. They just have to justify it in their mind and be like, oh, well, I didn't know it'd be like that, and I only did X, Y, Z times, so therefore I'm not a bad person. You know, yeah. Tahami says, the thing is I do it when, oh, yeah. Oh, I'm proud of you, Tahami. Dari says, unless you check it, it will be recorded as a heart attack 99% of the time, bro. Ariana says Epstein Island was a really blackmail plot. Bro, where did you get that one from? Darius says, taking pride in your work is very important. I agree. This is about Tahami comment, not murder. Yeah. I'm about to be like, okay. Tammy says, me too, but the things that happened in the prison is what made it a big deal. Yeah, the fact that they weren't paying good attention to him and all that stuff. I think also the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell or whatever Ghislaine Maxwell literally got taken to like a Texas prison that was like lower security or something like that. Basically like a jail where she had better amenities and everything. Like they're still sucking up to her. And I think that's not as much about like Trump being friends with her, but more so keeping her quiet because they can't have two people off themselves without it being really suspicious, you know? Darius says, I don't think that's compelling enough for me to subscribe to the murder theory. I don't discount it for out of hand, but I haven't seen anything strong enough to make me go, true. Arier says, it's clear that they use it to blackmail politicians. Epstein is a Mossad agent and openly wore Mossad merch. Epstein does have a lot of ties to Israel. I'm not gonna like discount that, but I don't know to what extent he was affiliated with the Israeli government. Because I think that's right around when Netanyahu started getting more involved in politics, right? That was like late 90s, something like that, too. So I don't know how deep it goes. Ray says, well, if I were in their place, I would make him die in an accidental incident, but commit suicide in a high security prison. And the camera didn't record any of this because unfortunately it was old. Or it cut out every night at a certain time. Hi, Ollie-Bug, baby toy. You gotta give it to me. Gotta give it. Google Epstein Mossad shirt. Well, I'm not surprised about that one. I have a camera that cost $10 and hasn't malfunctioned in 2 years. Yeah. I know, bro. It's all really convenient. Like, oh, let's see. Daria says that fat bastard Maxwell, that was the girl's dad, was very involved in Israeli stuff. Yes, got essentially a state funeral. There after he stole UK pensions. Yeah. The thing is I know there's a lot of connections, but I don't know all of the connections of it, and I know that it's very, very risky business to get involved in it, especially here in the West, because the Zionism is everywhere, chat. It is everywhere. Like, you can't really avoid it. Hi, Oliver. Do you have... Well, you gotta be careful there, Bubsy. You gotta be careful. I know you want to play, don't you? Okay. Adara says, also, I don't want to join in the blaming Israel game for literally everything. It feels lazy to me. Yeah. I think people can have connections without it being like a power thing, you know? Because here's the thing. within politics and a lot of governance and stuff like that, yes, politics is involved when you talk about the people, but the people have their own independent relationships that they leverage for their politics. So we don't know how deep those personal relationships go or what was or wasn't leveraged because it's very hush hush. Himi says, I heard a lot of talk about how he had a lot of friends in the Mossad, but I don't think that means he was with them. Yeah. Like, affiliation doesn't necessarily mean that you're part of an entire group, you know? Dory says, like Five Eyes in it, we share stuff with our allies, and there's also going to be a lot of crossover to those kind of levels. Yeah. Yeah, because people, like, in any position are going to leverage what knowledge they have or what access they have, even if it's not having that person they're friends with or whatever be directly involved. Like, you know how people say it's not what you know, it's who you know? And that's a lot of that. Let's see. Arier says, what is the other explanation? Epstein just happened to wear Mossad merch constantly and have connections to the Israeli government, but he wasn't on payroll? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, birds of a feather flock together. That's like a saying that we have in America all the time. And you don't have to be explicitly participating in the same thing, but if you are a shitbag person, you're going to hang out with shitbag people because people like to be around people that validate them, you know? Hi, Shmiki. And I think that's why Epstein was very close to them. That's just my perspective. I don't think it means that he was, I don't know. I don't know if he was like insanely involved, you know? Let's see, Arier. Oh, wait. Bray says, I don't understand what's happening. Americans don't like the British don't like Americans, but they always agree that their politicians are the worst. Yeah, that is true. That's partially true, yeah. Tahami says, but if he was with them or not, it's not going to matter. He was a bad person and he got what he deserves. Yeah. That's fair. Honestly, I feel like suicide's the coward's way out if you did fucked up shit. Like, he should have stayed alive, you know? Whatever. Arier says, it's like if a Russian guy went to America with merch of the Russian secret intelligence agency to do a bunch of sketchy shit, and then I have to pretend that it isn't 99% proof that he's a Russian spy. Of course he is. Yeah. But that goes back to the thing of, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know, you know? So, like, just because you're affiliated with something, it doesn't mean that you're a super big active participant in it. It just means that you're an accomplice, like at most. That's my perspective. So like sometimes I feel like Epstein at most could be like an accomplice with the information that we have at hand. Same with Trump and Epstein. Like I don't think Trump was setting up a ton of stuff or whatever, but I definitely think he was an accomplice. I think that he enabled Epstein. I think he enabled Maxwell. And I think he helped them stay in powerful positions. But I do not think that he is someone who is in charge of everything. Because that's just giving too much power away. I don't think Epstein would do that. Let's see. Daria says, there are people that function in society as connectors, bring people groups together, and gaining power from the fact of it. Epstein seems to have fitted that role. Yeah. Yeah, he was basically, like you said, a bridge. Yeah. Arier says, okay, so if he's an accomplice, what makes you think he wouldn't lure politicians to the island and give the information to Israel? That's the thing. I think what you're viewing it to be is like some like secret like spy thing or whatever, but it normally wouldn't be like that. Normally when people have like an established relationship of trust with someone, they're just like, oh yeah, I had so and so over and we talked about XYZ, and they're like, oh, was there anything like super interesting that happened or whatever? And you could be like, well, this happened, or blah blah blah. That's how those conversations would normally go. A lot of conversations between people who are doing, I don't know, people who then become accomplices to things, it's not explicitly like, oh, what information did you get? Let me write it all down and blah, 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 blah. It's usually not like that. People just aren't built like that. It's very covert, and it's very much like, oh yeah, when you were talking to them, did they say anything interesting? Because I heard blah, blah, blah. Like, you give a little to get a little, you know? And that's how that shit works. Let's see. Tammy says, I agree with that. That sounds reasonable. Yeah. Ray says, America is really weird. The law doesn't work properly. It depends on who governs the country. True. There are criminals who rise to high positions just because their party controls the country, and opposites are true. Yeah. And yeah, it is happening all over the world. I agree with you, Tahami. Wait, Ray, why do you say no? It's like, power is a covert thing. It's usually not something that's explicitly stated. There's not really a lot of like contracts where people are like, oh, you have to get me this information or whatever. It could be like, oh, can you do me a favor and let me know what so-and-so says about blah, blah, blah. Mainly because I just want to be sure that I'm not going to be put in like a bad position with stuff in the future. So like, can you just keep me updated? And they'll be like, oh yeah, for sure. They usually don't give the whole explicit why, you know? Let's see. Daria says, I mean, it might feel like a strictly American thing, but it's happened in Europe for 1,000 years. Just look at the Balkans, man. There's lots of other places, too. Ariel says, it's simple. Epstein lawyers and politicians. I would feel like a great example of this would be South Korea. Like, it would be a wonderful example of, like, how people in power, like, can be just pawns of the people who are super rich and vice versa. And can, like, demonize people who, you know, don't play into favor of the whole network that they have. Ariel says it's very simple. Epstein lures the politicians together and bring in Einen, as a Mexican sex trafficked kid, do stuff with her in exchange for information that these politicians give out when they feel like they can trust him. Then Epstein reports to Israel for blackmail and gives them secret information. I don't think it's that deep. I think that it's more of like the friendship thing. I really don't think that it's like, if you are in a position where you have access to a lot of information that is going to be detrimental to another person, if someone wants that information from you, they better be fucking nice to you, otherwise you're not going to give it to them. The best way to get information from someone, at least psychologically speaking, from what I've learned like in my psych classes and stuff like that, is you need to become their friend so they tell you shit. Otherwise they're not going to tell you anything. If you just demand information, they won't care and they could just lie to you because they don't trust you. So either way, the relationship established would have to be a more friendly, intimate relationship where they make him feel like he's part of the group, where he's super friendly and blah, 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 blah. It would not have as much influence of like, you do this and then you do this and then you come back, unless there was like blackmail involved or something that he could directly obtain. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Darius says Josie doesn't believe the Balkans are part of Europe. Fuck off, Darius. They're not always included. Like, they're not even part of the EU. Like, what do you mean? Ray says, at least in my country, a person holds a position based on competence, and also based on their record, provided it is free of crimes. This is good, so that the country is governed by reliable people. Where are you from? Where are you from, Ray? Tommy says, yeah, man, Greece is in Africa. You motherfucker, I never said that. Here says, they're not friends, he's deceiving them. You really think Epstein, the child trafficker, wouldn't backstab his fake friends? Do you think that anybody at that level is, like, truly, like, friends? You could share anything and everything, but if it's to save their own fucking ass, they'll throw you away. Oh, you're from Saudi Arabia. Oh, nice. Marhaban. But anyways, let's see. Darius says, there's also... Anyways, there were Roman town in Egypt, right? Syrian or something. Here's the thing. Yeah, you're getting, like, so into the weeds, Darius. But, how do I say this? just because you're friends with someone doesn't mean that they're not gonna like backstab you. Honestly, that's something that happens a lot. Just because you're of someone's like flesh and blood, like your family or whatever, doesn't mean that they're not going to throw you away just so that they can get whatever they need. That like trust is just established through lots of time where someone could theoretically have the opportunity to fuck you over and they don't. That's what builds trust. Not necessarily like, oh, because you are XYZ title, you're gonna be my friend. I think these people who were in these positions knew what they were doing was risky, and rather than, how do I say it? Rather than trying to like put themselves in a position where they were impenetrable, they only give as much information as is necessary for the relationship. Like, you're not going to tell them about your mommy issues or whatever. You just kind of keep it more surface level. Not everything is super intimate. Let's see. There's no Spanish territory. No, there's Spanish territory in Morocco, Quetta, and Melilla. Oh. No, man, it was in Libya, actually, not Egypt. That's true. Tahami is from Egypt, so that's all I know. Ariar says, I mean, with fake friends, is that from the start only reason he engages with them, so backstab them, he is not their ally. Here's the thing. If you're doing something corrupt and you know it's wrong, you're not going to be trusting or super friendly or get very emotionally attached to the people that you associate with or interact with, because there's like a power dynamic there, you know? And not even that, it's like what you're doing is so hush hush. You do share like some level of intimacy of, hey, you're doing something that's bad, I'm doing something that's bad, therefore it strengthens our bond in that way, but it doesn't equate to emotional intimacy. It doesn't mean that they're going to be close together in that way. Sometimes they just have good working relationships. Let's see. Yeah. You forgot about Morocco. Dang, Tammy. I could go on forever about this stuff too. I've been wondering a lot about the Epstein thing for a long time, but I haven't been involved in anything like this, just so you guys know. I've just been kind of the, for lack of better terms, like victim of being like, oh, because you're my friend, you wouldn't do that. Because like of XYZ, you wouldn't do that to me. Or, you know, because you're my relative, you'd never do that. Like, I, for so long, believed that things were both ways when they really weren't. And it's not always like that. But you have to be understanding of, like, not every... It's very rare that you get people that you can be extremely emotionally intimate with, you know? Tammy says, not the whole Morocco, Josie, I'm not an idiot. Fair. Anyways, I've been thinking about this a lot. I already said that, but like, it's just, I think people, they view the world from the extent that's happened, like the things that have happened to them. And if you've been betrayed in like a really big way, or, you know, you're in situations where you can't really trust the person that you're with or whatever, it kind of forces you to just put up like these walls of certain things, and you only give a certain amount. It doesn't mean that you're not like friends or anything like that. It just means that you're not like friends. Like, I don't know, not even not like friends. It's just you don't tell them everything. Like, I wouldn't tell, like, Andrew's my best friend. I wouldn't tell Andrew everything about my life all the time. One, because it's just not super relevant. I mean, if he asked, I'd probably answer, but like, it's just not, I don't know. I don't really go around like just giving out a lot of information to people. And most people aren't like that. It's only if it's relevant. So I view the same thing to be with Trump and Epstein and all that sort of thing. I think they were close in the sense where they shared a bond with the illicit and illegal activities that they were doing. But I don't think that they, like, were super intimate. Tammy says, what the fuck? Cleopatra was from Greece. How could she be black? Yo! Plotomy vibes, isn't it? Bruh. That's so cursed. But yeah, anyways. I did want to discuss a little bit about, like, what do you guys actually think is going to happen to Trump? Because you guys said the Epstein trials would be something that he could face consequences for. But, like, what would those consequences be? Like, I don't know how you'd be, like, put to trial for anything, or I feel like a lot of that's kind of behind us. And a lot of the people who are very pro-Trump still voted for him, even though, like, back in 2016, when he was a convicted, like, sex offender, or he had so many, like, situations where he's assaulted people. Yeah. Wait, what do you mean, Darius? Are you still talking that conversation, or are we going back to this? Not trying to be annoying, because I value your conversation. I'm just curious. Because it's something that I want to get your guys' opinion of. Because people overall that I've been able to speak with in person, they don't even think that Trump's going to get in trouble for anything. Like, they literally think nothing's going to happen. Daria says, do you want us to go back to Trump posy? I mean, you can talk about whatever you want, honestly. But I still want your guys' answer. Because this is more of my, like, personal curiosity at this point. And for me to stop making British Museum jokes, you're okay about the jokes. And I don't mind you guys talking about that stuff, because I'm just going to keep talking about my thing. I don't really mind that much. But I do want your guys' opinion. I am going to interject and be like, what the fuck is your opinion on this? Because I do want to know. What's going to happen to Trump? Like, how would he be put on to trial for any of the horrible shit that he's done? Oh, with Trump, I think he's betrayed his base, and I think there's signs of it online with different right-wing groups. That's true. Like, some fringe groups are popping up. Ariera says nothing, he will get away with it. That's what I was saying. I think the people who try to precede him are gonna face more of the consequences than he will. Adari says, I think his Forever Wars stuff, Epstein, Qatar, and Idaho going to be massive issues for his base. I don't know. Has George come in today? I feel like that would be something George could, like, speak up on, because he's more involved in, like, the MAGA stuff. But yeah. Uh, Darius says, like the right, I believe, probably like the left, TBH is incredibly divided on Ukraine v. Russia. Well, it's like flip-flopped, you know? Like, at first, everyone, for the most part, was on Ukraine's side. And then now, and the left was like, oh, we shouldn't be having this war. There's lots of problems with Ukraine. Because Ukraine did have a lot of problems, and people don't like to admit it. But there were lots of fringe groups in Ukraine that were a little like, eh. And then now it's been very much like flip-flop sides, you know? It's kind of weird. Ray says, well, I can't predict what might happen to Trump. I believe that those he trusts will abandon him in the end. He is indeed increasing America's enemies, and if Israel falls, they will fall with it. Ooh, that's an interesting take. I do agree with that one, though. Let's see. Arier says, honestly, Zelensky, with his we will be the Israel in Europe, can go fuck himself. I know. That was like not a good take. I agree. And people are pretty upset with that. Shmicky Sue says, really craving some chicken tenders and french fries from a diner. I know, they're so good, by the way. Daria says the only split between the right seems to be on Ukraine. They all seem united on the Epstein list, which has this meme Meme to have a medic hold on people. I always said meme take. I was like, wait, that's not fucking right. Oh man, it's so funny. Yeah, I honestly I get really frustrated when I hear people talk about what's going on in Ukraine and stuff. Hmm. Yeah, it was not the best thing for him to say. Ariel says also Israel. That's true. That's true. It's true. Some people, most of the conservatives here in America, though, are very like pro Israel. They're very Zionist. Dario says his base was galvanized off conspiracy and stuff, and now he's basically acting like the fabled deep state with Epstein. I know. Well, I think it's kind of ironic because do you like Candace Owens? Oh, this girl's going fucking wild right now. Have you seen her shit? Have you seen her shit online right now? Holy fuck. I've been like the love of her life died bestie wise, you know? And then she started losing her shit and I was like valid crash out. And now she's like Israel did it and all this stuff, which I don't know. I don't know. Absolutely not. She's such a dickhead. I agree with that one. But people are going really wild with what Candace Owens has been talking about recently. Coming over here, pretending to be British and telling us what's wrong with our culture without having any idea. Hmm. Ariel says Israel did do it. I don't know about that one. I do agree that the bullet, like watching the video of him getting like shot, I'm not like a conspiracy person with this. I'm not trying to promote conspiracies or anything like that, but I do agree that the bullet impact and like how it was so clean was really suspicious with the weapon that was used and all that stuff. It's not impossible that it could be a clean hit like that, but it's just the amount of propaganda that was like promoted off of it. I kind of sit here and I'm like, I feel like this is something that people aren't really supposed to talk about. So I'm just like, I don't know. And I'm not like a weapons expert, which is why I don't discuss it too much. But if Mythbusters was still airing on TV, I think this would be a really, really good thing for them to try out and try to prove wrong or right. Just saying. Dari says, I believe in coincidence over conspiracy. Yeah, agreed there. Ray says, well, the world doesn't forget, and we're not fools. Using the veto 6 times in favor of Israel, yep. China's threat of sanctions, Russia's threat. Do you think Israel would care if they were on the verge of collapse? They would destroy America with them. That is true. And I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think a lot of the world is banking on that. Like, a lot of the world is. Daria says, Trump is absolutely one of Israel's greatest allies ever. I can't see any motivation to get rid of it. I know. I know. The thing is, with Israel and Trump, is that Trump is going to try to stay in office, like, as long as he can. But there's so many signs of him having a stroke and stuff, which I'm not trying to be, like, super conspiracy theory with all this stuff, but I do think that he does show signs of having a stroke. And that, or at least having heart issues because of the inflamed joints, his legs looking really off, the bruising and stuff on his hands, also his inability to have long sentences, and his now reliance on teleprompters when he used to not really use them. He's just not super coherent anymore. And it's either he's getting old, aka his brain is deteriorating, or there's some other problems. Arier says Charlie Kirk said the Jews are causing Marxism and wokeism in our country. That's a stretch, but yeah, I am not reacting to that, what he says specifically. And he said that Israel will do ethnic cleansing and stuff, and right after he said that stuff, he got killed. He did say a lot of anti-Israel things beforehand, but I do have to mention that most of the anti-Israel stuff that he was spouting, doesn't have a lot of roots in, like, being pro-Palestine. It's just mainly because he doesn't like Israel, or he didn't really like Jews. He became less Zionist, and that was the end of him. Even with the interview with Ben Shapiro, he said maybe we shouldn't trust everything the media says about Israel. Yeah, his eyebrows, I remember the eyebrow raise and everything, and he was getting really weird. I remember that. The don't fuck with me look. Candace exposing DMs of Charlie being scared of Israel killing him. Yeah, I think that's really valid. Dari says moving the embassy was a historic move for them. Yeah. Jose is causing Marxism in the USA. Yeah, that's why they're deporting all of the Spanish speakers. I don't know if you're trying to say Josie or Jose, but either way, I made my joke. Dari says, a Christian nationalist is not going to be pro-Pali. I know. But it's also important to understand, like, where is he coming from when he's, like, going against Israel and stuff like that. And more of the Republican side of things are going to become more and more anti-Israel with time. I was trying to say Josie, but used my grammatical mistake perfectly. I know. I'm funny like that. Anyway. Sorry, I just gotta get a little cocky. Yeah, but a lot of people, especially here in the United States, aren't really educated enough on what's happening in Palestine, or they just don't want to, they just follow the crowd with what's the most popular, Like, for a really long time, I think it was in the early 2000s, at that point in time, we had massive, massive protests going against a lot of the involvement we had in the Middle East and stuff like that. And still, like, you would be branded as, like, a terrorist for, like, saying that, because if you're not pro forever sand wars, what happens to you? So it's like, what do they do about it? Let's see. Ray says, well, Trump's stance with Israel, in my opinion, can be divided into two parts. Either Trump's scandals with Mossad threatens him, or he's actually Zionist and loves these crimes. I think that there's a little bit of, like, truth to both of it. Because Israel could easily appeal to him and be like, hey, if you follow our lead with this, we will allow for you to do all this stuff. Like, remember Trump Gaza? That whole, like, discussion that was happening earlier this year is once they leveled the Gaza Strip, they would allow Trump's real estate agency and stuff like that to get more involved in rebuilding. And Israel isn't going to stop until they do that. Like, they still broke the ceasefire and everything, and they're still, like, bombing people and causing more problems there. Arier says also Benjamin Netanyahu. Reply, why do you have that in parentheses? I replied to the allegations with the most bullshit long excuse ever. When did any other leader ever reply to such allegations? And he looks so uncomfortable. It seems so obvious he knows he did it. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's trying to just not get involved in the discussion, honestly. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but I think he's trying to avoid the discussion. Darius says, I was hoping you'd continue to point out my misuse of grammatical stuff there and call me something bad. I can't use it all the time. It has to be fun. It has to be fun, Darius. Trump's stand on Israel, I feel, is far more simple, and it's about him proving he's the best president of all time bringing peace. Yeah, he's very ego-driven. To him, he says, actually, Josie, I found that it's so good, actually, to see people in whole over the world really cares about what happens in Palestine. And now the differences between East and West are not a lot now. That is true. Yeah. I think a lot of people do care now, which is good. It's just, my thing is, I'm pretty jaded because I live in a really red state. So anytime, unless I'm, like, with more left-leaning people or immigrants or that sort of thing, most people I talk to about the topic get very like defensive of Israel and stuff, and it's really sad. It's not as much like that nowadays. Like, it's getting a lot better, but it was really bad for a while. Ray says America's problem is deeper than its presidents because the intriguing truth is that all the presidents who won the elections did so with support of AIPAC. That is the biggest thing. Israel has money. AIPAC is the biggest fucking donor, as to my knowledge, in like US politics. And it's fucking crazy. Like, a lot of people here in Nebraska, whether that be like mayors or legislature, whether that be state legislature or federal legislature and stuff like that, they get money from AIPAC. Like, everybody, the minute you get involved in politics, they start pressuring you to take AIPAC money. They're just like, yeah, it's worth it, you should do it. And then your lips are sealed. Arier says Ben Shapiro is also an obvious Israeli agent that spends his day manipulating and dividing the public. He 100% knows everything that's going on. I think he legitimately believes it, though. Like, I think for him, he has deep ties to Israel for lots of reasons. And I think he was low-key indoctrinated into it. I think it's something that came far before him. And it's going to be harder for him to stray away from it because he's already built a foundation with a primarily like Zionistic base. So if he strays away from that and he starts acknowledging what's happened, he's going to lose a lot of people. It's not going to play in his favor, which sucks for him. But I mean, you shouldn't fucking do that, you know? Like, you get what you get. Darius says, yeah, Abraham Lincoln was powered into the White House off AIPAC. Bruh, chill. No, it's obviously a much newer thing. Because, I don't even know. I think Israel is like fucking... Isn't he younger than like Joe Biden? Or isn't Israel, the country, younger than some presidents that we've had and stuff like that? I don't know. There's lots of about it. I feel like that one's not true, though. I could be Arier says he doesn't feel sorry at all. He loves murder. They just don't view him as people. Like, they straight up don't view Palestinians as people. It's fucked up. Arier says, oh yeah. Tammy says, yeah, because these things are happening for more than 80 years, but people weren't paying attention for it. But no, it's not like that. And actually, it flipped over. So all the protests are happening in the West, and here we are not doing anything shamefully. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I'm laughing because it is fucking ironic. Like, there's a ton of fucking things happening, but none of the change is actually sticking. And it's almost like the public perception of politicians isn't as important to the politicians anymore because their base is just going to view it all as like AI or fake news or whatever anyways. So it raises a lot of concerns when people aren't succumbing to public pressure. Ray says, and also if is blah blah blah. If the Israelis have also the Israelis have long adopted this policy. Do you know that all or most of the traders in Israel were doing this by taking advantage of wars and profiting from them? Israel has a long history of getting involved in wars and stuff. They're basically like the middleman for the West and the rest of the like West Asia and all that sort of thing so that they can have the control that they want. Even Africa, like North Africa too. And one could argue parts of the Balkans and stuff as well. Like, having Israel in that location does it does make it so that a lot of war stuff would be very beneficial for them to profit off of, you know? Tammy says, actually, I think the governments, they don't really care about pressure anymore, no matter what people say or do. That's true, because people aren't really, like, taking people to the guillotine anymore, like chopping people's heads off or burning shit down. You saw that in some of the protests that have happened in the past couple months, but there's not really like a lot of threat. They're just like, oh, they're gonna get rowdy and they're gonna complain. There has been an increase in political assassination attempts, though, and class assassination attempts. So I guess it is still happening, but we're gonna see what happens. Darius says, has Israel started a lot of wars, like between nation states? So here's the thing. Israel doesn't want there to be peace in any parts of the Middle East. And they will actively get involved in things that don't really have anything to do with them. So in Lebanon, they're continuously like hitting Lebanon, like all the fucking time. They hit Qatar, which could have started like a Gulf War, which would have been a very big thing, because like, ooh, that would have been not good news for anybody in the region. And there's already lots of like proxy stuff happening in the Gulf too, which is happening in Sudan, but and other countries as well, you know, whatever. But having everybody be targeted against Israel is kind of what they want, because they want the West to keep backing them up and they want to look like they're the good guys or whatever. Let's see. It's very complicated. Daria says, I think it's very hard, Tammy, for Egypt to get properly involved in Gaza and the West Bank. That is kind of true. I would agree. Ray says, they used to give money to fund people with to win the war, and when that happened, they controlled them. They originally used money for this purpose. Yeah, I agree with that too. Now they just keep like everybody on their toes. Like they started the whole conflict with Iran, and they were like, how do I say it? They started the conflict, started all the superstitions. America came and basically bombed the shit out of a couple sites that pretty much did nothing. It was proven to do nothing. And then everyone had peace and it was okay. And everyone was like, okay, bow down to Israel, you know? And it's just, it's kind of fucked. IMO. Ariel says Gert Wilders will win the next election according to the polls. Huh. Are you sure? I guess maybe, but I don't know. Daria says, like, politically, not morally, you absolutely can't have rockets, etc., coming from borders into Israel. Yeah, it is very much politically. Tammy says, yeah, man, with Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Iran, they will keep doing this until they took the whole land that they want, which is from the Nile to the Forat. Yeah, they basically want so much. Oh my gosh. Wait, why are you on to this right now? The Netherlands? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't like them a lot. I do agree that like a lot of far-right conservative stuff is becoming more and more popular, which isn't necessarily good for anybody. IMO. But yeah. Oh, you live there. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I thought you'd be more excited to talk about like the Israel situation. I guess we'll have to see. When's the election? But back to Israel and everything. They want to take over a ton of land in the Middle East because the more control that they have, the more control the West has of the region. And that's where all of the money is. I don't know. I'm not saying that it's something that will absolutely happen because I personally don't think that they'll be able to get away with it. The Gulf states and a lot of the bordering nations, I don't know, some of the bordering nations to Israel are more beneficial as allies than like territory, you know? Ray says Israel does not do this because we are Arabs or Hamas. Israel does this based on the concept of greater Israel in the promised land. That is true. That is true. Yeah, he is very anti-Islam. You are right, Arier. I'm a little concerned about it, honestly, but I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm a little nervous. But we'll see. When's the election, though? Let's see. Daria says, do you not think the Middle East politically wants it as well? Trading with Israel, etc., must be far more economically secure than Tehran, for example. Yeah, how do I say this? Israel is basically, they're in a position where they have a very advantageous spot in the Mediterranean. They're seen as more Western friendly because they were established by the West, but that doesn't mean that they actually are more Western friendly. If you don't bow down, not really bow down, if you don't promote their media and their propaganda that they want to be in the West, they're not going to work with you. So on one hand, you could get some things from them, but is it really worth it if you lose your autonomy? So a lot of people, they've been just like, oh, well, it's not affecting us. It's not affecting us. It's not going to hurt our country. It's only in that region. So they just don't care. It's like it's so far away that they can't see it as a problem. And a lot of people who are in neighboring countries, they have to kind of fall in line with the West a little bit and start working more with the West independently so they don't have to work through Israel. And by doing that, they have to be more forgiving and pro-Israel, for lack of better terms. Otherwise, they're at risk. Yeah, Daria says, like, I'd be surprised if Saudi, Jordan, or at all would see a strong and secure Israel as something they want on a government level. I don't really think it's like, yeah, I agree with Ray. There is no peace in the region as long as Israel is here. That is true. I think that because Israel exists there, it's forcing countries to be more friendly with Israel's allies. Because if they don't establish their own personal relationships or like business relationships with like Israel's biggest allies, then they're basically fucked. They can start to sell their goods to like Africa or more East Asian countries and stuff like that, countries that are not as pro-Israel or collaborating with Israel as much, but that's just going to put more of a target on their back, and you have to have a lot more in order to stand up against the West like that. Let's see. Dari says, wouldn't be surprised, etc., especially with Gulf states move to Western markets. Yeah. Arier says he is planning on banning mosques, the Quran, Islamic schools, hijab, non-Western languages on signs, and he wants to fund Israel more. That is true. That is true. What do you mean, Schmicky? Bro, what are you on about? I'm gonna ban you if you, like, post an OF link, just so you know. You're just trying to get attention. I will mute you and I will ban you if you do that shit, just so you know. But yeah, Arier, you are correct. They are trying to be very cruel to Muslim traditions and Muslim cultures and stuff like that. But, how do I say it? Like right now, there's mosques that they're literally selling alcohol out of, that they're literally having parties out of and stuff like that. It's so disrespectful, especially as they take it over. They force people out of the land, and then they're just like, oh, this historic building, we don't use it for the religious purposes. You're not allowed to pray there. You're not allowed to do anything like that. We're going to be so fucking disrespectful to it, and then just like, it's just so fucking cruel. Like, they have no interest in respecting any religion outside of uh, the ones that make them look good. That's pretty much it. And they think that being Islamophobic is going to help them and help demonize Palestinians more, even though not all Palestinians are Muslim. But whatever. Let's see. Ray says, well, our position was clear in Saudi Arabia. There is no agreement until the state of Palestine is established with our East Jerusalem as its capital. Hell yeah, Ray. I agree with that one too. It's like people will come together and say like, oh, there's peace, we're gonna promote like a ceasefire or whatever, but Israel will never hold up their end of the bargain. They find some fucking excuse to just strike over and over and over again. They are so aggressive with all of their neighbors constantly. Like they cannot keep their hands to themselves because they want to keep looking like they're innocent or whatever, and that they have to defend themselves and they need the resources so they can keep doing it. It's like use it or lose it. Uh, I don't think so. I think the reason why October 7th happened is because there was no treaty, Darius. Like, Israel wasn't willing to agree to anything. Because Israel has been doing horrible stuff for a long time. There were other flotillas, basically, that went to try to give aid to Gaza that were, people were murdered. Like, in the 2010s-ish time period, too. Like, Israel's been doing this for a long time, but what's really triggered the attention on Palestine right now is the fact that they're fucking bombing everything. Like, they're literally just doing a sweep and leveling everything, which is something that they've never done before. Let's see, Dara says, like, I am very open to this position being wrong, but my feeling is the actual powers in the Middle East, not the people, would like to see Palestine gone. Yeah, I don't agree with that, because if Palestine is gone, then Israel is just going to start focusing its efforts on the other countries. Palestine right now is basically a buffer, for lack of better terms. Like, it fucking sucks, but it is. It is a buffer. Ray says, no, there are no trade agreements or even an embassy in both countries, so there's literally no cooperation. Yeah. Agreed. There's like Israel's been on this bullshit for a really long time. And it just fucking keeps happening. And it's really sad and it's really disappointing how far they keep taking it, but there's not really a lot that we can do about it. Tahimi says that's why we can't let Palestine go, because in that situation, we're so gonna be cooked. Yeah, you're right, Tahimi. Because like, if Palestine falls, it's gonna cause a lot more harm than good to everybody in the area, and they don't even have to like Palestine in the first place. But it's basically it's just not going to be good, because who's next? Israel's not going to stop. Let's see. Darius says, didn't the Abraham Accords set up a normalization deal between Saudi and Israel based off security guarantees in the nuclear program? Oh, I think because Israel has violated so much, it's kind of not, it's not really something that was really followed through. But you could correct me if I'm wrong, Ray. Ray says, well, I will say that Palestinians have the right to determine their fate, just as we have the right to determine our fate as Saudis. That's true. In some aspects, yeah, that's true. I feel like Palestinians don't have as much access to resources, though. And the Saudis have been able to, like, hold up a lot more than other countries have. And that's kind of my perspective. It's hard, because if any country tries to add more aid to Palestine and give more aid to the cause and stuff like that, it could cause more problems. That's why Canada and the other nations that were, providing an airdrop of resources and materials in the Strip, it was seen as, like, more acceptable because they're west-facing, like, Western, than, like, Middle Eastern facing, like, they're seen as, like, an ally to the West, so you can't really go up against them. Like, everyone was like, oh, they did it, haha, and then they moved on really quickly. Ray says, but that didn't happen in the first place, and you can check if there are any connections. What do you mean? Daria says, TLDR, over the last year, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the government of Israel, JY, pursued diplomatic normalization agreement with the U.S. support to build lasting regional security framework beyond the Abraham Accords. Negotiations remain fluid since the attack on Israel by Hamas in October 7th hold on, yeah. Tammy says, no man, Saudi Arabia wasn't actually in that. It was the countries like UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco. Yeah. Saudi Arabia has been very adamant that like Palestine should be its own country, but they're not getting as involved as other countries have. And I don't know why they're not getting as involved. I feel like that's kind of out of my reach of speculation. I'm not informed enough. And Ariel, I did see that you said that, but I don't know a lot about Gert Wilder, just so you know. We could probably talk about it more tomorrow, honestly, while I'm cooking. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go soon. I do have to pee. I have to take a wee. Wee. Darius says, yeah, to Hammy, it was built upon them to normalize relations in the region. I think Sudan might have been in the original Accords as well. Yeah. Here's the thing. The Accords, I feel like it was trying to set precedent for something peaceful to happen. But IMO, when you have Israel who is constantly like overstepping any agreement that's had, they constantly keep firing upon Gazan citizens, they keep going against other people in the region without like any good cause or reason to. How do I say it? It's just gonna keep getting fucked. Yeah, Darius says everyone was involved except for the Palestinians, basically. Yeah. They didn't even really get to speak that much for themselves. That's like another part of it that really pisses me off. Like, we could talk about this forever, honestly, but a lot of Palestinians are being forced into positions where any of their politicians, regardless of whether or not they are like pro Hamas or with Hamas or whatever, have been targeted by Israel. Same with journalists and everybody that's like public facing in the region is a target there. It's fucking crazy. Ariel says Netanyahu said out loud that he manipulated the Accords in a leaked video from Channel 10. He said something along the lines of, I'm such a genius, I had to respect the borders, but I could decide what was military territory, so I can just say everything is military territory. Yeah. I know a lot of that has been going around. Hammy says, yeah, South Sudan is actually so quiet that you never hear anything about them. Yeah, they did have like the really big civil war. And I think they're still in a civil war. They're basically, I think there's a proxy war happening right now there. That's just BBC. BBC. Anyways, Daria says, well, there's quite a lot going on there at the moment. And yeah, there is. I think a Good Friday agreements between US and the IRA have basically screwed expectations. Screwed expectations. You were correct. I was correct initially. You were correct when you said that. I thought it was a typo and I was like, gonna be sassy. But I'm dyslexic, so I fuck it up for a lot of these kind of deals. Yeah, it's true. Ray says, well, Saudi Arabia always seeks a just solution. Yes, other people might see it as cooperation, but in the end, Hamas has the right to determine the fate of Israel, which caused destruction and killed innocents. Yeah, that's North Sudan, not South Sudan. Yeah, I think you're right. This is a Sudanese war. I think South Sudan, their conflict stopped in 2020, right? Because there was a lot of stuff. That was the wrong link then. Yeah. Here is the link. Wrong one. Boop, boop, boop. That is my bad. This is South Sudan. South Sudan are the Christian majority, right? I don't think so. But you could be right there. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. There is a lot of history. That's more of a history thing, but that should be the right link. Oh, so it is primarily Christian. Oh, I didn't know. Huh. I know they're different countries. I know they're different countries. I gave you the other link. It is my bad. It is my bad. I should know this too. I work with Sudanese people. They get so mad at me because I'm just like, I try to understand, but it's something I'm still learning. And I know they're different countries. I gave you the other link. Let's see. Ray says Hamas is not a terrorist organization. It is the one defending its people, which is why it has the right to decide what they want to do. You get on a lot of shit lists by saying anything about Hamas here in the States, by the way. I do have a video that I would really, really like to dive into at some point, but I am actually low-key afraid that it would get me in trouble on Twitch. So, oh, fuck me. Let me get the right account. Oh, one of the greatest Anglo-Egyptian partnerships. Yeah. Let me get it. Let me get it. Is it here? No, no, that's not it. That's not it. I think I could have sworn. I could have sworn. I think this was kind of it. I could have sworn it was a different one. I think it might be this one. You guys can watch it. I was referencing it earlier. Let's see. Darius says, me and Tammy are in South Sudan back in the day, bruh. Tammy says you could say that they have the military there because literally there's no military there, I guess. Yeah, it is pretty based, not gonna lie. But, let's see. I do have to go soon. I have to go make food. I have to go do the things. I stayed here a little bit later than I normally do, so you guys are very lucky. Very lucky to have me here today. Yeah. I guess it's time for me to go. It's time for me to go now. Dari says, are you of the view Hamas is not a terrorist organization, Posey? Ooh. That's a heavy question, isn't it? It is quite heavy. Ariel says, so do you think they'll get you in trouble by saying that? Saying what? Ray says, I don't want to interfere in their decision, so I will respect their decision. It is not possible to claim that I support the people of Palestine while attacking Hamas who defend them. Darius says, sing your song and we can discuss it another time. You know me. You know me. Maybe some other time. But I guess it's time for me to go. I guess it's time for me to go now. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day. Tomorrow is cooking stream, hopefully, unless something crazy happens and then I don't do it, I'll be later or whatever. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go get eat. I'm going to go get eaten. I'm gonna go. I'm kidding. Anyways, I gotta go eat. So sleep well, stay safe, and stay alive. So.